My name is Cindy Wright, and I'm 22 years old. I live with my beloved grandparents in an upscale, quiet residential area of New York. Having graduated from my dream school, the Juilliard School, I'm living a fulfilling life as a professional pianist. However, my journey hasn't been smooth sailing. From my earliest memories, there was a strict rule in my family: you must start both piano and violin lessons at age 3. This rule was an absolute conviction held by my mother, Elizabeth, and there was never any room for negotiation. Mother had dreamed of attending the prestigious Curtis Institute of Music in her youth. When that dream didn't come true, she decided to pass her aspirations on to me and my sister Nicole, who's 2 years older. Looking back, Mother's expectations of us were excessive. 7 days of lessons every week. What started as 30 minutes quickly extended to 45 minutes, then an hour. Before I knew it, I could only watch the neighborhood children playing in the park after school through the window of my lesson room. Nicole gradually began to rebel against this lifestyle. Strangely, though, I didn't mind it. Always being compared to my sister, constantly hearing "Nicole can do this, but Cindy," actually made me want to surpass her someday. Besides, I genuinely loved music. There was only one time I asked to skip a lesson. I had been invited to my kindergarten best friend's birthday party. With excitement bubbling in my chest, I asked my parents, "Can I go to Jessica's birthday party next Friday?" Dad smiled kindly and said, "You got invited. That's wonderful." His words filled me with joy, thinking I can go. I excitedly exclaimed, "They'll have cake and games." However, Mother's words shattered that happiness into pieces. Missing a lesson is absolutely out of the question. Stop this nonsense. Hurry up and eat. You're wasting practice time. And you, she turned to Dad, don't encourage her misunderstandings. Dad just looked down silently. That evening, I could barely eat half my dinner. Naturally, I couldn't concentrate during practice either, and Mother scolded me 3 times more than usual. Mother sent us to a prestigious music school's kindergarten and scheduled private lessons and practice sessions every day after school. Instead of family vacations, we attended New York Philharmonic concerts. Birthday and Christmas presents were always CDs of famous musicians or new sheet music. Our living room had been transformed into a complete practice room, and we spent almost all our time there except for meals and sleep. If we wanted to watch TV or read books, we had to reduce our mistakes during practice and finish on schedule. But that was nearly impossible. Still, I didn't find it too painful because I preferred playing the piano to watching TV. However, when I was 4.5, Mother suddenly declared, "Nicole is better suited for violin, so she'll stop piano this month. Cindy, from next month, you'll focus solely on piano." Her reasoning was, if you each master different instruments, you sisters can dominate conversations, and it'll be more glamorous when you become famous. I had no complaints since I loved the piano, but Nicole, who preferred piano to violin, was quite shocked. Still, we weren't allowed to voice our opinions to Mother, so we could only silently continue down the path she had laid out for us. Mother's favorite phrase back then was, "You'll perform at Carnegie Hall." It happened one spring when I was 5. I woke up with a sore throat and severely swollen cheeks on both sides. I also had a high fever. Mumps. At this crucial time, Mother was severely agitated. The national junior competition was just 2 weeks away, and this situation was pushing her to the edge. But surely you can at least practice if we bring down the fever. Mother forcibly reduced my fever with medication and took me to the practice room. She made me sit at the piano without showing any concern for my unusual condition. But I was dizzy, and my fingers wouldn't move as I wanted. Still, Mother just kept yelling, "We don't have time before the competition," and wouldn't let me rest. A few days later, my fever spiked again. The next morning, my world changed completely. Is there no practice for my sister today? When I woke up, the house was unusually quiet. Normally, I would hear Nicole's violin, but not today. Anxiously, I ran down from our second-floor bedroom to the living room where our practice room was. I couldn't even hear my own footsteps on the stairs. With an eerie feeling like something from a horror movie, I opened the living room door. There was Nicole practicing as usual, with Mother watching over her. I could see Mother's lips moving, but I couldn't hear her voice. In fact, I couldn't hear Nicole's violin or the piano at all. Mother noticed something was wrong with me and immediately took me to the hospital. The diagnosis was severe sensorineural hearing loss due to mumps. They told us it was a rare case and treatment would be difficult. Although the mumps eventually cleared up, my hearing didn't return. I could barely hear anything unless people spoke very slowly and loudly. Conversations with friends became difficult, and above all, I couldn't clearly hear the piano I loved so much. I sank into deep despair. But Mother was even more devastated than I was. I never imagined this would happen, but there's nothing we can do now. Let's give up on Cindy. Mother canceled all my piano lessons with the coldness of discarding a defective product. Even self-practice was forbidden. From now on, I'll focus all my energy on Nicole. Fortunately, we have 2 daughters. Even if Cindy's no good, it's fine as long as Nicole becomes a professional. When I heard those words, my heart froze. I had more free time now, but I found no joy in watching TV or playing with friends. Most painful of all was being forbidden from touching the piano I loved so much. The following year, instead of attending the prestigious private elementary school as planned, I enrolled in the local public school. From this point on, I began to be treated as the family's burden. Mother never missed Nicole's school events but ignored all of mine. When parental attendance was absolutely necessary, she would ask my grandmother to go. If the family went to concerts, I was always left at my grandparents' house. A new life began where I wasn't included in family trips or even dining out. Each time Mother refused to take me, she would push me onto my grandparents without hesitation, saying Cindy would just be a nuisance. My grandparents always warmly welcomed me, trying to ensure I didn't feel miserable. Grandmother, in particular, started teaching herself sign language and began attending support groups for children with hearing impairments. Eventually, grandfather joined in, and they both earnestly studied sign language for me. In stark contrast to my grandparents, who understood me better than anyone, the gulf between me and my family grew deeper day by day. Unable to even have proper conversations, I naturally became isolated within the household. Mother remained obsessed with Nicole's musical education, seemingly having completely lost interest in me. However, the event that would decisively change my life came when Nicole was 15 and I was 13. Nicole has been accepted to study at the Vienna Conservatory. Mother was in an unusually good mood as she celebrated Nicole's success. Then she suddenly announced, "We'll be moving to Europe in a few months." This was the first I'd heard of both Nicole's study abroad and the family's move. How would I live in a foreign country? I wouldn't be able to see my grandparents anymore. Anxiety washed over me. Yet, I felt somewhat relieved by the fact that Mother was considering me as part of the family. Thanks to my grandparents, I had stopped being so self-deprecating, and I tried to think positively that things would work out somehow. On departure day, while it was still dark in the early morning, Mother hurried me into a taxi. However, neither Dad nor Nicole was there. Though I found it strange, I didn't have the courage to question the rushed mother. The taxi headed not to the airport, but to my grandparents' house. When told to get out, I took my luggage and stepped out, and Mother suddenly rang my grandparents' doorbell. "I'm sorry, but please take care of Cindy. There's no point in taking her with us." Mother threw my luggage into the entrance as if disposing of unnecessary baggage. "Don't contact me about anything regarding Cindy from now on." Leaving those words behind, Mother jumped back into the taxi and drove away. Watching her disappear, I felt all strength leave my body. I guess I really was just a nuisance because of my hearing loss. Though I had been hurt many times before, the despair I felt that day was even more painful and sad than when I lost my hearing. Even after losing my beloved piano, becoming unable to converse normally, and being excluded from family outings, I had still believed that, because we're family, we'll understand each other someday. That last hope was completely shattered that day. However, I didn't fall into depression again. That was thanks to my grandmother. I never thought she would do something this terrible. But now you can truly do what you want to do. What I want to do. Yes. Not what someone tells you to do, but what you want to do. Things I want to do. I don't have. It's all right. You'll understand soon enough. Grandmother embraced me with a gentle smile, as if enveloping me in warmth. Encouraged by those words, I decided to return to the piano. The keys I hadn't been allowed to touch for years maximally stimulated what remained of my hearing. The vibrations transmitted through my fingertips overlapped with my memories of the sounds. I want to play the piano again. My shrunken heart began to expand as if awakening. My grandparents quietly watched over me. They found a local music school for me. The new teacher had experience teaching students with hearing impairments and proposed teaching methods tailored to my needs. Practicing while feeling the vibrations was more difficult than I had imagined. But what made me happiest was being able to work at my own pace without harsh demands like Mother's. I decided my own practice times and chose the pieces I wanted to play. Above all, having my grandparents genuinely enjoy my performances became my greatest support. Even if my playing wasn't perfect, they would praise me, saying, "Wonderful." Through such days, I gradually regained my confidence. Life at my grandparents' house was warm and gentle, as if making up for all the hardships in my life until then. They seriously considered my future and arranged for me to transfer to a local high school with the help of sign language interpreters. The music teacher I met there recognized my potential. She told me about pianists who were active despite hearing impairments and encouraged me that there was no need to give up. 9 years have passed since then. I'm now in my final year at the Juilliard School. The path to admission wasn't smooth, but life with fellow students who love music and share the same dream has been filled with irreplaceable joy. At university, I challenged myself not only in performance but also in composition and arrangement. Even with hearing impairment, music was never distant from me. Rather, by feeling vibrations and resonance with my whole body, I found new ways to engage with music. When I was abandoned by my family at 13, I felt like I had been thrown into the depths of despair. But now, I can think that perhaps that event was what led me to find my true self. I had grown strong enough and confident enough to think that way. Then one day, an unexpected visitor appeared. It was Mother. Just like when she abandoned me 9 years ago, she suddenly showed up at the university without any contact. When she spotted me, she approached with a smile that made her look like a completely different person. "Cindy, congratulations on winning the national piano competition. You truly are my daughter." Mother tried to embrace me, acting as if she had been supporting me all along. I reflexively pushed her arms away. Mother looked surprised for a moment but quickly returned to her artificial smile and rapidly said, "I saw you on the news and came running. From now on, I'll support you with all my might, so let's live together." That unusual enthusiasm sent chills down my spine for the first time in my life. Just then, someone tapped my shoulder from behind. I turned to find my best friend Emily standing there with a worried expression. Emily signed, "Someone you don't know. Are you okay?" I signed back, "This is my mother. But I want her to leave." Emily nodded understandingly and turned to Mother. "She has plans, so we'll be excusing ourselves." At Emily's words, Mother stood there dumbfounded. Unable to understand sign language, she could only stand there, not comprehending our conversation. However, Mother didn't give up. A few days later, she showed up at my grandparents' house, bringing Dad and Nicole with her. "We're moving back to New York soon. Let's live together." Mother's tone was still commanding as ever. And behind her, Dad standing powerlessly and Nicole with hunched shoulders hadn't changed from 9 years ago. But I was different now. "I have no intention of living with you." As I clearly stated my intention, Mother suddenly exploded with emotion. "I raised you. I nurtured your talent." At that moment, Nicole, who had been quiet until then, spoke in a small voice. "Mom, that's enough. We want to live our own lives." Mother became furious and began berating Nicole. Watching this, Grandfather spoke up in a strong voice. "Leave now. Stop tormenting my granddaughters any further." Eventually, persuaded by Dad, Mother left. Later, a letter from Dad arrived at my grandparents' house. It explained that Nicole had married a musician she met in Europe and was starting a new life, and that he had decided to divorce Mother. "Cindy, Nicole, I'm truly sorry. As a father, I couldn't protect you." I started to write a reply to these words from Dad but ultimately put down my pen. We probably would never meet again. Still, I felt somewhat happy knowing that Nicole had found her own path and Dad had chosen a new life. Meanwhile, Mother began appearing frequently at the university and concert venues. Each time, she would claim my success was due to her education and keep saying, "From now on, I will." However, I would no longer submit to Mother's control. As graduation approached, I made an important decision. I decided to move into a new Manhattan apartment with my grandparents. My income as a professional pianist had stabilized, and I wanted to repay them for their kindness. "Oh no. Don't worry about us," my grandparents initially hesitated. But when I told them this is what I really want to do, they nodded with tears in their eyes. The night view from our Manhattan high-rise apartment is as beautiful as a starry sky. Today too, after returning from my recital at Carnegie Hall, I contemplate life's mysteries while gazing at this view. Ironically, I had achieved the dream of performing at Carnegie Hall, the very dream Mother had tried to force upon me, through my own efforts. Moreover, my performances were highly acclaimed as demonstrating new possibilities in music, as a pianist with hearing impairment. "Cindy, your performance was wonderful," Grandmother signs to me after coming to watch my concert. Although my grandparents have been visiting the hospital more frequently lately due to knee problems, they never miss my concerts. "No matter how many times I hear it, your music has soul," Grandfather also tells me with a proud expression. Their words carry a completely different warmth from Mother's constant "more perfect" and "not enough." Recently, I unexpectedly reunited with Nicole at an international music festival in Paris, where I discovered her performing as a violinist. Having escaped Mother's expectations and begun walking her own path, Nicole's expression and voice were bright and vibrant, as if she were a different person. We celebrated each other's lives and were able to forge a new bond. "Cindy, I'm happy too. I never knew that being able to play music for myself could be so wonderful. Meeting Nicole again brought me great joy. However, I haven't reunited with Dad. He moved to the West Coast after the divorce, and I occasionally receive emails from him. Although we avoid meeting in person, we maintain a relationship where we care about each other's well-being. Mother, on the other hand, still appears suddenly from time to time. Recently, she's even tried approaching the media, claiming my education was right all along. But my heart no longer wavers. "Grandma, want to look at the night view?" I invite Grandmother, who's relaxing in the living room, to the terrace. Looking at my aging grandparents makes me acutely aware of how precious our remaining time is. That's why I want to cherish each moment. "Hey, do you remember when you told me you'll understand soon enough back then?" As I sign this question, Grandmother smiles gently and nods. "Yes, of course. You looked so lost and uncertain back then. But I believed you would be all right." "How could you be so sure?" "Because I saw pure love for music in your eyes. It wasn't something forced on you by someone else, it was genuine passion." Her words make my heart swell with emotion. Now, I truly feel happy. Losing my hearing and being abandoned by my family were certainly difficult trials. But it was by overcoming these challenges that I was able to find my true self. And above all, I gained a real family. Blood ties alone don't make a family. I've learned that true family is about bonds where people believe in and support each other. My name is Cindy Wright. I continue to play my own music as a pianist with hearing impairment. And I spend my happy days with my precious grandparents. This is my story. A story of a new life that's still unfolding.